Hello, everybody, and welcome. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that means it's time for another Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, the ever-summonable Krokgar. How you doing, Tom?
Oh, I see how it is. Hello, friends.
Also joining us this week is Marrok Wolf. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
Very good. You are joining us from another guest from Canada. That's correct, right? You're up in the frozen white north.
Yes, I am living north of the wall.
Absolutely, up there fending off the White Walkers daily.
You
I'm
you
sure
can
it's
thank me later.
absolutely. Just watch out for that hard home episode. That's really going to get you. No spoilers, but that's when that happens, I would say flee south, head for whatever, head for south of the wall. All right. So today I thought we would spend a lot of time talking about hobbying and things like that. So our main segment today is going to be about models, all about models and modeling and our favorite models. And we are all going to pick those models and argue about them and basically claim that we're the best and that our choices are the best with no amount of logic behind it whatsoever other than our own personal taste. So get ready for a bunch of grown adults to argue about toy soldiers. That's what we're going to be doing during our feature segment today. But before we get there, it's time for some news. Some news and some rumors and so on. So, Tom, why don't you kick us off, man? What do we got this week?
Yeah, so it looks like we have a re-release of Skaven. Pestilence is coming in with Plague Monk, re-release of Plague Monks and Plague Furnace and Plague Claw Catapult and just all kinds of fantastic.
Which, by the way, that Plague Claw Catapult is way good now. Just throwing that out there. Really good.
Of course it is. The we have a bunch of we have a box of 20 plastic bloodbound blood reavers for $58. Man, I did not see that coming. You know, when we're talking about like boxes of things coming, I did not see them releasing a box of 20 figs. Like,
Yeah, I thought they were done with that.
yeah, seriously, right?
I think it's just speaks
Three different
to the
weapons.
fact that, like, the units are the units, right? Like, they're going to sell it to you at this price, and it's going to be about the number you need, right? So, like, you take the five not Liberator, or which one? Liberator, Retributor, I always get it. The double-handed guys, okay, that are coming out this week. And it's like, five is about what you need. If you've got the three from the starter set, you got eight. That's probably more than enough. So you buy that one box, you're done. I think they're going for, like, the one-and-done attitude, you know?
Yeah, it's an interesting move for them. On the docket this next week is also the Quest for Gal Maraz, which, spoiler, another campaign book is coming within like a month's release of the last.
Yeah. Fast.
Huh?
Yep.
What? Are they gonna like it just blows my mind. Like, is this the new release schedule? Like one a month for how long?
Forever.
Forever. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's interesting because, obviously they've committed to a more evolving narrative, right? I mean, if you have the first Age of Sigmar book, you know that that's something that they're focused on is this evolving narrative to shape the units they release in the story, which, by the way, I'm all about that. I think that's fantastic. I thought the fluff of Warhammer was far too static for too long. And so I love the idea. But man, these like $75 books basically once a month, boy, that's a hit. Now, at the same time, here's what I'll say about it. I actually don't mind this for the following reason. You don't need to buy this book. I mean, that's the reality of this. This isn't your army book, right, or something in 8th edition terms. Like, if you played High Elves and the High Elf army book came out, you got to buy it. And if they broke up High Elf releases once a month and you were buying a $75 book once a month for your High Elves, you'd be pissed, right? But that's not what this is. This is the evolution of the story. If you want the story, if you care that much about the fluff, buy the book.
I'm calling shenanigans. Because here's the reality of this book.
Hit me.
If you play Stormcast Eternals or you play the Blood Tide, it's likely going to have troops for both of your armies. Remember how I was bitching the other show, like last week or 2 weeks ago, about the fact that one of the new units that was coming out wasn't in that book? And I was like, how do they miss that opportunity of having a book come out with like a unit 1 week later and not have that unit in the book? There's a reason why. It's because that unit is probably in the new book.
Yeah, but the scrolls will be in the app. Like I don't need the book.
Not all of the scrolls, right? Like you still have to pay for the new stuff that comes out. You have to pay for.
They upload the warband scrolls. I haven't seen any war scroll not get released. The scenarios you unlock with the code.
Is it only the scenarios that get unlocked with the code? I thought it was for some reason the new units too.
Nothing that I've seen. I'm not saying that I know this for sure. I don't know for sure, but everything they've done so far.
The new units, you can simply go to their website and just download off their website. I mean, it's not a big deal there either.
Yeah, they've been pretty committed so far to making the war scrolls for the troops free.
Okay.
So you can always get the.
So yes, yeah, the war scrolls it looks like are free, and the formations for some reason like you have to own the books for.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, sorry.
Ridiculous. Anyways,
that kind of makes sense in a way because I mean those battle formations were made to be used in the scenarios in the book.
Right, it speaks to that particular story, absolutely. And plus, I mean, look, so we're talking like there's 5 pages of mechanics in there. That is to say, these formations and whatever the scenarios are that are going to be in this book. One, if it's that big a deal, I'm sure one person in your friend or gaming club could have it, and you can figure out what those scenarios are. You know, we're not talking about like vital rules-based information. This is a book for the collector. If you collect it and you care about the story, collect it. You can make your own scenarios. You don't need these 8 or whatever's going to be in this book, right? Like I can make 100 scenarios by the end of the day if I'm so inclined. So I mean, it's not like these 8 are the quintessential must-have scenarios because every tournament's going to be using them. Every tournament's going to use their own scenarios, like they have always and will continue to do, right?
Sure. I like for me, just the frustration I think is that like they like obviously they're targeting customers like me who are completionists, and they know that there is a portion of their population that like wants like everything, but not just everything, like wants consistency, and so like I feel compelled to buy this book, and that angers me a little bit, especially if this is going to be a once a month $75 investment.
That
sure.
Sounds like it's your
so real
fault,
quick
not
here, I want
GW's.
to. Yes. I want to throw in a comment that Andrew Starr made on who's watching the show, and he said, "I think a sudden rush of starter books is necessary, and I like it. We know that there are 8 mortal realms, and they have only unlocked 2 of them in the first big book. So I'm looking forward to the next 3 books, assuming they unlock 2 more realms in each book. Of course, it won't end there, and I think that is a point, right? Like a lot of people, I've been hearing plenty of complaints that there's not enough stuff. Like I've seen on the forums people complaining they're not releasing stuff fast enough. And then they release a second book, and everyone's like, I didn't mean that. Right? I meant release different stuff faster. Only the stuff I want, when I want it, and exactly how much, as per my current budgetary allowance. Like, come on, man. They're going to release stuff.
You have to fit in this square, or else I don't want it.
Right. Exactly.
No, that's fair. It's fair. Like my concern is this: like when do they start pulling this stuff? Like how long does this stuff end up on the shelves? And what is the starter book for? Like what is the starter book for new players? Is that just the starter box?
I think Age of Sigmar, the box, is the starter, is the thing for new players. It's got your scenarios to get you going, and the rest is just the Realm Gate Wars, right? And you know, whatever, you jump on any point you want. And I think that's fine. They're all pretty pick up and go. If the Age of Sigmar box itself has that 96-page fluff book that sets the basis for the story, right? So you can you've got all your groundwork laid to get in from there. So, but yeah, I mean the book release has been very controversial, and I don't know for sure that it even has scenarios in it. I haven't seen a table of contents yet come across. I don't know if you have. but you know, their description is, of course, as ridiculously adjective filled as normal. The new awesome, incredible, shelf breaking book of wonderfulness that is must own for every true GW fan. And shelf busting really is an adjective that they used in one of their marketing pieces.
Is that just because they pile so many of copies of the book on the shelf that it breaks?
I guess. I thought that was a weird choice of adjective, but hey, whatever they like.
Like, I could understand them saying that about the 8th edition rulebook.
That thing was certainly a shelf buster, no doubt about it. All right. So very good. What else have we got? How about this? I'll pick up while you're gathering your thoughts. So the White Dwarf ebook is changing. It is going to start like a new interactive app or something next week. Apparently, it's going to be delivered like through an app and based on that. So if you're a White Dwarf ebook getter, you know, be looking for that change because that's probably going to be a lot different. I think it'd be cool if they, like, the reality is they could do some pretty awesome stuff, right? There's, in that kind of publishing space, there's really the opportunity for these books, these magazines, to prove their value through a lot more interactivity and click-throughs. Like, they could have links to the painting videos out on YouTube and stuff, or whatever, right? I mean, you can do, when it's digital, you can do whatever you want. And I think that kind of stuff would be great. Make it more interactive, make it worth the money for that digital book, right? Can also sort of pseudo-inflate your content because you can link out to a bunch of other stuff to make it seem like you're getting a ridiculous value when you were going to make that thing anyways. So, whatever. Sure. Here's another thing that happened. So, not to leave the old world too far behind, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. Did either of you see the map, the incredibly detailed map of the old world that a group of people made?
No.
So, hopefully you can see my screen there.
No.
So if you can see this level of detail, right, I have Altdorf, and then the small towns, each river is identified, right, the other little small towns around it, these hills and canals and things. Okay, so this is zoom in on Altdorf. That is as detailed at that level, the whole world. Well, I mean, the whole old world, right, I guess.
Is that Google Maps?
Basically, yeah, like they made a Google Maps of the old world. Like, it's all detailed at that level I just showed you. Like, you can see how thick some of this is, right, with names. There you go. We'll zoom way in. Look at how detailed that is with, like, names and rivers and things.
Wow.
So, you can check that out. I'll throw a link up to the actual live map and such at the bottom. Because it's, I mean, full kudos to them. I'll tell you, you know, when I read the stories, I honestly always kind of had a problem kind of picturing where everything was. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I know there were maps all over the place, but they were usually so zoomed in. It was kind of, it was tough to get it in my head what was adjacent to what, right? This takes it and really takes, like, this big map and gives you that level of detail so you can really see where everything fits. You can see just how much we're knocking off a strange map of Europe, a weird Europe, where Finland and such have just collapsed down and are spewing out chaos and evil forces down onto the people of Europe. I think the entire premise of Warhammer is actually that the Scandinavian countries are evil. I think that people of England fear the Vikings, and that manifested 1,000 years later in their design of Warhammer.
That must be true.
Yeah. I see no other potential explanation. So, I thought that was pretty cool. Wanted to share that out with the community. That was a fun one. As well as the other spoilers, we did get actually spoilers of the next White Dwarf, and the White Dwarf has the War Scrolls in it as well, by the way. So it's got the Plague Monks and the Nurglings and Putrid Blight Kings and Blood Reavers with their new axe and stuff like that in there. So those are all in the new White Dwarf, as well as some previews of the big book. So very cool stuff there. Any other news items you can that you've got on the docket there, Tom? Any other rumors swirling around?
I've heard that we'll be seeing Skaven soon, and then we could be seeing the corn terrain sooner rather than later, like the corn buildings.
Yep.
You had a discussion at Gen Con, didn't you, with some of the Forge World people?
I did. That's right. So I talked to some of the people at Gen Con at the GW booth about the terrain, because they, in their display board, they had the Dragon Fate dais and the whatever the other thing is called, the little globy ball metal thing, and it was all built into a big castle. And I asked them, you know, are most of these terrain pieces made to be fit together, and is that going to continue? And the person basically said yes. Like, not everyone will. Some are just going to be standalone things, kind of like the gates, where they're meant to be out there alone. But a lot of these terrain pieces they're making will be, you know, connectable. So you can put them all together over time to make one big, monstrous, ridiculous terrain piece, which I thought was pretty awesome.
I'm saving up mine. I have mine sitting on the shelf.
Sure, you're just gonna build one big giant castle. Is that the idea?
Oh yeah, or something along those lines. Maybe 2 big castles.
Sure. Marrok, what's your feeling on terrain? How often are you building terrain?
How often? Well, I just finished building the hell are they called? The Shrine of Aquila and all that stuff.
Okay.
The 3 separate box sets that come together, and that was a royal pain in the ass.
Was that 40K?
Yes, I don't play 40K, but just the way the Gothic windows and everything looked, I thought it would go nicely if I didn't use any of the sort of 2B bits, we'll call them. But I've also got a Garden of Moor in that, so it's kind of, once it's all painted up and nice, it'll look a lot better than it does right now. Right now it's just bare plastic, but it's still usable, so it's still being used. Yeah, and other than that, like, I've tried my hand at like sculpting styrofoam and shit like that, but other than that, I enjoy buying and painting things that you can get and build rather than scratch building stuff. Just because I always, especially with, like, if you're building anything out of styrofoam, I always find that no matter how fine of a grit of sandpaper I go down to, I can never get it just smooth enough.
Sure. Yeah, I think for me, I'm actually in that boat with you. Like, and it's funny too, because I don't want to pay the money for terrain, but I also don't want to build it from scratch, so I just never end up doing it. Right? I'm like, that's not a model. I don't understand. Some final quick rumors. So in addition to the Blood Reavers, which we know for sure are coming, we're supposed to get another pack of the Blood Warriors. So that's the actual, like, Chaos Warrior guys that are in the AOS box set. Probably again with a differing weapon option. My
awesome.
guess is they'll be the same. They'll be like 5 for 50, since they're supposed to be the match of the Liberators. I don't know that for sure. That's not based on anything other than my, you know, complete and total guess. I saw another mention of 1 to 2 Khorne Clan Pack characters. In September, there is another campaign book slotted featuring Skaven, Dwarves, Elves, and Tzeentch. And the rumor is in September. Yes. You had my attention, but now you have my interest. So Skaven, Dwarves, Elves, and Tzeentch. Tzeentch is supposed to get some new kits, finally, which will bleed over into 40K Tzeentch as well. And then finally, there's supposed to be some more AOS releases after that, but nobody knows that as yet.
I didn't hear Seraphim in there anywhere, so I am no longer interested, sir.
That is correct. 0 Lizardmen. I'll be interested to see when they come back into the story. They're just going to flow back. They're going to make a giant pyramid like the Necron pyramid. I don't know what that thing's called. It has a name. But, of course it has a name. That's the stupidest statement ever. No, it's nameless. It's just a nameless pyramid. So, but they're going to make one of those just made of stone, and that's how you float it down, and then your lizard men just pour out.
No, see, yeah, that's not happening. No, they're just going to summon in. Like, they don't need to release anything else. They're just going to summon on. They don't even have to deploy them. They'll just, like, lay them right on the table.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. That's a great thing. So, I want to pick up a thread from last week of a discussion we had. Last week we talked about summoning on the show, and I was of the very firm belief that to summon a unit, you had to have that unit on the table because, so like zombies or whatever it is, whatever undead thing we're talking about, the ability for the Death Wizard to do that is on the War Scroll of the unit. And if the unit's not on the table, how would the Death Wizard grant that War Scroll? Or how would the War Scroll grant that ability to the Death Wizard? Strike that, reverse it. And there was a lot of discussion around about this, and a couple interesting points. One, so Garage Hammer asked some of the people at the GW booth how do they play it, and they said, one, play it however you want, of course, and two, when we do it in our games, we just summon whatever we want. And I was like, okay, that's pretty insane. And somebody brought up to me last week that if you have to have the unit on the table, then that becomes a problem for special characters. And I thought, I didn't remember special characters being summonable, but that was because I hadn't looked through the Lizardmen book, or scrolls, I guess, carefully enough.
Yes, Gorok is a special character that can be summoned. And only it's not summon Gorok, it's summon Sunblood, which leads me to believe that it's not actually another Gorok being summoned, but just another albino lizard. So,
is Schmorschmock, the sun lizard.
Oh, also, Batrock may or may not have been a slight ripoff of Gorok.
Yeah, I think so. If you look at like Chaos and Undead, none of their special characters are summonable. I can't summon Skulltaker or Manfred or whatever onto the table. Right? They are what they are. Either they're there or they're not.
You wouldn't want Manfred anyway.
That's exactly. Who would summon that guy? I would summon him to kill him myself. I attack my own models. But yeah, exactly. Krokgar and Tetueco and Teeny Weeny and all your other ridiculous named special characters are, with all their G's and Q's and apostrophes, are all summonable. But you're right. It doesn't say like summon Krokgar. It says like summon Saurus Warblood or something, or whatever.
Sunblood, Eternity Warden.
Right.
I'm through them now. Yeah, like they're. Yeah, and and this is what I said. Vince, we talked about this before, and I think that whole line of arguing is that like if they're unique, well, how can you summon them? That's bullshit. Because here's why. Show me where in the rules it says that you can't field multiple of the same name.
Right. It's not there. I mean, obviously we all feel that way. It feels weird. Like if I actually had two Archon the Blacks on the table, you'd be like, well, what are you doing? That's weird.
This is Archon. Right, this is Archon, and this is Markon, the other Lich that I have that is of rival power.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. There's nothing preventing that in the hard rules. So I think in the end, I come back down on the side that you have to have the scroll on the table, because I just don't know any other example where, a unit off the table is allowing its rules to broadcast onto the table. Okay, right? That's really what's happening. Something that doesn't exist, because anything off the table isn't real. It's somehow broadcasting from the warp out onto the table.
If you're going to make that argument, then you have to accept the fact that during deployment, things that quote-unquote like do not start on the battlefield, because of the wording on those scrolls, don't have to actually be deployed in the actual war scroll selection. So, for example, the Green Knight says, do not set up the Green Knight at the start of the battle. Okay, well, I didn't deploy a scroll, so that's not a big deal. I didn't set him up at the start of the battle. Instead, roll a dice during a hero phase, and then he jumps on randomly, and then he disappears. So you would have to accept that, like, if anybody is playing a Bretonnian army, he always starts jumping into the battle, no matter what else is going on.
To be absolutely correct, Tom, every one of us should be rolling every turn for the Green Knight to show up, because there's no hard army restrictions either. Yeah. So every game of Age of Sigmar played by any faction, both sides should be rolling to see if they can get the Green Knight to show up.
Yeah.
As long as they own a Green Knight pig. I've got 2, so I'm ready. Me and my opponent can both start rolling.
And then suddenly, like, Shades and Shadow Warriors just start popping up everywhere on everybody's side, because nobody has to deploy them and nobody has to set them up. But you
didn't have to hold them in reserve or anything like that. You can just, if these abilities can just work off the table, I can just say, well, it's in my collection, so I get to start rolling for it.
Now, I'm not quite sure why, but I was under the impression that the Slann could just summon guys. Like, they didn't have to be on the table. It didn't matter. I don't know where I got that from. I don't know why. I'd never run a Slann ever, even in 8th. Ever.
The internet.
So
the internet told you that you could summon everything, because if you look at the Slann like entry, they get Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, Light of the Heavens, and Light of the Heavens, I can assure you, is not a summon spell.
Right.
It sounds like a summon spell.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. It is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not. Nope.
Say now.
It'll be. Hey. According to GW, it'll be whatever. So that's what it is.
There you go. So I think that's where we come down on that. I like Tom. I certainly agree with you. You know, we talked through it today some, and to me, it just seems like you got to have that thing on the table. That's what it is.
And let me just say, like, if people want to continue to press this issue, I will continue to find more ridiculous things amongst the War Scrolls to demonstrate that no one wants to play in that world.
That's a threat, Tom. You're threatening the community with your research capability. Way to go. I'm sure they're quaking in their boots out there.
Well, the Green Knight is apparently coming for every one of your games.
Absolutely. I can't wait. I'm going to start rolling for him right now. All right. So, very good. So that summoning issue out of the way. Tom, I know you had one other thing you wanted to talk about before we jump. This bridges the gap between news and hobby time, because it's kind of both things. So we'll actually start with you here, Tom. So what is your hobby thing you wanted to talk about?
Oh, yeah. So beyond all the stuff that I'm working on, I'm being very productive right now. I am in the process with Vince, obviously. We are putting together a Age of Sigmar Mordheim packet. And we are, the rules have been completed. We're in the middle of construction right now.
Oh, that is a bold statement. The rules for the actual playing the fighty part of the game have been design completed. That is a long way from ready to ship product, but I appreciate your enthusiasm.
No, I didn't say that. I said that hopefully within the next couple weeks, that's where I was getting, and you stopped me, we should have something that is playable. So for those that are interested in potentially playtesting and making sure that we're not completely off the rails with this this free product that we're going to be providing for the community, for those interested in this type of thing, tweet Warhammer Weekly your interest, and we will contact you about what that playtest is going to look like.
Yep, exactly. It should be a lot of fun. I love Mordheim, one of my favorite games of all time. Age of Sigmar honestly converts over to a Mordheim-style game really well. And you might be thinking, well, do you even need to do anything? Well, there's lots of little stuff we're going to do around advancement and, you know, your characters and injuries and hunting for treasure and constructing your actual war bands or whatever that are going into the damn city. And we also have some fluffy explanations for why Mordheim exists in the Age of Sigmar, and I'm pretty happy about what we came up with. So it's all just goofy, out of our butt stuff, but I think it's I think it's a lot of fun, and we've been spending a lot of time discussing it, and Tom has been spending a lot of time typing all this up. So I appreciate that, Tom.
And Absolutely, thank you. And for those of you that are lore nerds, Warhammer nerds, in the comments below, explain to me why or why not Warpstone and Weirdstone are same or different.
There you go. All right. Why are Weirdstone and Warpstone two separate things? Okay.
Or are they?
Or are they?
Because okay, I'm gonna because
I'm ready.
Weirdstone
Mhm.
is something that is used as a currency. Something that is used to power crazy Skaven machines.
All right. That's fine.
That
with
is
me.
the difference.
I see. All right. I'm okay with this. I understand that many sites call them the same thing. They say they're just different time period names. I think they're different. So there you go.
Also, may I just add,
Go ahead.
I am literally over the moon excited for both of you. This is absolutely amazing. I am really, really happy that you guys are, grabbing this bull by the horns and wrestling it to the ground, because I don't think there's two better people in the community capable of pulling this off. So I look forward to trying this out, guys.
We're very excited about it. There are certainly better people in the community, but you go with the designers you have, not the designers you want. we are the Dark Knights of this project. We have the will and apparently the way. So there you go. But I thank you.
And for those of you that are critical of Age of Sigmar, let me just say there will be warband construction. So, like, for those that are looking for their boxes to be filled with troops, there will be that in this. So there will not be the free kind of ranging Age of Sigmar warband construction a lot of people have been critical of.
Yeah, enough of that hippie stuff, right? We're getting back to some lists. You better choose a group of warriors going into the damn city. All right. So, what about you there, Marrok? Since we're in hobby time, what's been on your desk? I mean, I've seen a lot of your pictures, but why don't you? Do you want to talk about what you've been working on?
Well, so for the viewers that don't know who the hell I am, and why would you? I'm a very, very small channel, sort of niche thing. I've got a couple tutorials up and a couple of bat reps, but it's nothing overly special. Right now, I'm working on my Batman Seraphim Age of Sigmar army, and I just completed my 30 Saurus Warriors. That was an adventure.
I know you got the Batman cup there behind you on the left, so that's good.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and show you this because why not?
Sure. There you go. Nice.
So,
nice. That's dedication.
Yeah. So anyone who has any other questions of why are you doing this, now you know. I also just finished my Robin Skink Priest. That was really, really fun. I got a laugh out of that when it was all finished. And now I'm just waiting on many packages to arrive so I can finish the rest of this stuff.
There you go. Yes, he put up a really, like, the 30 were all the Gotham City Saurus department, Saurus Police Department. Those looked really good.
Yeah.
All done in the cop colors. Your Batman and Robin were fantastic. I love the scenic base with, like, the gargoyle head and such that you had for your Bat Lizard.
Thank you. It was kind of difficult because when you're taking pieces of actual scenery and then putting it on a base, and then taking, for instance, a Carnosaur head from a model and then just gluing it on there, and then trying to green stuff sort of rubble and stuff. It's really, really freaking hard to get that stuff to all flow and look right.
Right.
So that took probably way more time than it should have.
Well, I always marvel at your sculpting capabilities. So.
Thank you.
Yes, Marrok is so for those of you not familiar with this channel, as usual, I will put a link below. If you have interest in hobbying and sculpting, especially working with green stuff and working with molds, he's got some excellent tutorials there, and Marrok is really really awesome at it. You have a definite skill in this, sir. And so anybody else out there interested in that sort of thing, check out his channel. Go watch those tutorials. I will tell you right now, it'll up your game. It'll take you up to the next level. All right.
It's all about taking it slow.
There you go. For me, what's on my desk is these boys right here. This little bastard right here that is just taking forever. I don't know why he's taking so long. He just is. I don't know.
You're doing non-metal metal, aren't you?
No, I'm not. This is all... No, that's legitimate true metallic metal. It's just made to be, like, burnished, beaten metal. So, like, yes, I had to glaze it as much as non-metallic metal, because, I mean, that's got to be 30 or 40 layers of glaze back and forth to make that look like that.
I know how you feel.
It doesn't even look like... Yeah, look, I made it look like metal. Way to go. Wow, neat. It looks like slightly darker metal. That took like 4 hours to make metal look like slightly darker metal. I know how I feel like I'm wasting my life.
I have a theory as to why you're putting so much time into this.
I'm ready.
It stems from the countless paint-a-sodes. I think it's been the last 2 or 3 where you've been like, I gotta paint this guy.
I have every time. I keep saying
I have to. This is happening, and now that you're actually painting him, you don't want it to end, so you're prolonging it for as long as possible.
I have 2 more of them.
Oh my god.
Okay. I have 3 of all of the characters out of the Age of Sigmar box set. So,
wow.
So, like, I probably need to finish this up and figure out what I'm doing with the other 2.
Is that like your time capsule thing?
Yeah, basically, I think so, yeah.
Awesome.
I want to start working on the flying guys because I got real feathered wings for them. So all of my hammer throwers, I don't know, I cannot remember any of these names because they're all too similar. But my hammer thrower, fly paper or toilet paper butt guys, they are all going to have real wings. So they'll all be like the dudes from Flash Gordon. I'm pretty excited about that.
And how many of those do you have, Vince?
15.
Awesome. Did you need
Quite a
some
lot.
more? Did you need some more wings? Because I think I've got like a sprue with a bunch of Pegasus wings on it.
Well, first of all, I would punch my grandmother in the throat for extra wings. I mean, always. Like, I will sock her right in the throat. But that being said, no, I do have like 18 sets of wings, so I've actually got a few too many wings. But I certainly appreciate it.
Because I think I've got like a couple of Pegasus, like Bretonnian Pegasus Knights sitting in a box somewhere.
Those wings are great too. I converted my Ushabti champion to have wings just because, like, they're just, it's a statue. They're not real wings. They're just modeled like a statue wings going straight up. Oh, and they're perfect for it. So, yeah, I've thrown those Bretonnian peg wings around. They're beautiful feathered wings, nice detail. They're great. All right, and speaking of great detail, let's do it. Let's move on to the feature segment of the week. Let's argue. Who's ready?
Ooh. I'm good to go.
All right. So this week, the topic is the best of the best of the best, if you really feel like adding another one. And what we're going to talk about is models. This doesn't mean, this has zero to do with rules. No rules shall be taken into this. The accounting of the rules shall be 0. A thing's value on the table is irrelevant. All that matters is the model. So, and we are going to judge the best of the best in all of the standard troop type categories within Warhammer. This can be from any point in Warhammer's history, though chances are just based on the quality of the models, most of them will be recent. And we're going to cover characters like lords and heroes type thing, infantry, cavalry, monstrous infantry and cavalry as one group, war machines, monsters and monstrous beasts, war beasts, and chariots. Whoa, tuck in, folks. It's time to argue. So I want all of you out there to get your nerd rage ready, because I want to see why you think we're wrong, and I want to see what you think the best model that's been produced by that is. For the purposes of us, we'll probably be restricting ourselves to GW, just to actual Warhammer models. But if you out there, you in the audience, you don't need to have that restriction, and you can certainly feel free to offer whatever other model you want. So, Marrok, You are our guest, so you get the blessing/curse to go first. And we will begin with the humblest of all troops. We will begin with infantry. So what is your favorite model for infantry? What's the best of the best?
My favorite model for infantry is the Wood Elf Glade Guard. The reason being because I feel that those models were way ahead of their time when they came out, in terms of detail, and I think that's when they started actually learning how to hide mold lines in the glue seams of the model itself. Also, just the pure imagery of wood elves with bows. I believe that those models capture the best, and that is why I believe that Wood Elf Blade Guard are the best infantry models in the game.
Nice. They were also, that kit also, like, very dynamic, obviously, with those sweeping cloaks.
Oh, yes.
And also, both men and women mixed on that sprue, right?
Absolutely.
That's true.
It's a very, very rare kit in that regard. So, yeah, I totally love that kit. It is a great kit. And plus, crazy thing about that kit, they gave you, like, extra torsos and heads. So if you could, like, steal 4 legs, you had 4 extra Glade Guard in that kit. Not really relevant to the quality of the model, but just a fun side story.
Mm-hmm. And, like, endless conversion possibilities.
Yes, absolutely. Gave you the little sprites in there, too, right? The little sprite guys came in there.
Does anyone else miss that? Like, them just releasing stuff on the sprue that was just shit you could stick on your base? Like,
no, they need to go back to it with people like this. It's probably way too small to see, but I don't know if you can see that. That's the hunting dog from the Bretonnian archers. More of that.
I want more mushrooms, like the Night Goblin on the Night Goblin sprue. Like, you have no idea how much I scour. I literally, whenever a Night Goblin or like a Orc and Goblin bits lot goes up, I like scan the image to see if there are any mushrooms in there, hoping and praying that there are, so that I can drop a bunch of stupid money on mushrooms.
You hear SGW? Bring back the extraneous bullcrap on our sprues. That's what we want. All right, Tom, your choice for best infantry.
I have to go with Witch Elves. Damn it, those are just beautiful, beautiful models. They are so compelling. Yeah. I got nothing. I mean, like, there are no other models that truly, like, I look at for infantry and just marvel at their beauty. An honorable mention for me, by the way, and a lot of people think I'm probably crazy in this, are Corsairs. If you do a Corsair, paint it up nicely, especially if you take the time on the Sea Dragon cloaks and do like the scales and like a nice gradient with a mixture of scales, they are beautiful models. The waving of the cloak, just like, they are fantastic models. Now, they're not Witch Elves. Witch Elves are perfection in plastic. But I think Corsairs have an honorable mention here.
All right, fair enough. I will be the hipster of the bunch. Here we go. And I will pick the Juan Diaz Daemonettes from many years back. They were in between the old metal awful crab claw, like the hideously ugly bald Daemonettes, and the new hermaphrodite Daemonettes. The Juan Diaz sculpts they have some daggers still, some actual human hands, some big claws. They are much more naked, let me say that. Like, they and clothing don't get along, and they are also completely still female. There's no hermaphroditic tendencies to them. Not that there's anything wrong with the new Daemonettes. I have a bunch of those too and love them. But those Juan Diaz sculpts they're just beautiful. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google Juan Diaz Daemonettes, D-I-A-Z, and you'll see them. They're absolutely gorgeous. And if you can ever get if you're a fan of Slaanesh, you got a Demon's Army, and you can ever lay your hands on some, cannot recommend them enough. They're a fantastic, beautiful addition to your army. So there you go. That's our picks for infantry. Do you disagree? Probably, maybe. Put it down below. Why are we wrong? What's your choice? All right. I think those were all solid. I don't think any of those are out of the box. Those are all great choices. If one of you says something that's totally dumb, I'm going to say, like, that's insanity what you just said. All right, so let's move on to the people who lead those heroes. And let's talk about lords, or lead those infantry, sorry, yeah. And we'll talk about lords and heroes. So, characters. Marrok, once again, you may start us off, sir.
All right. I'm going to go with the obvious choice, the right choice, which has clearly got to be the Carnosaur kit. That model got me back into wargaming. It literally pulled me back in. I've never looked at a model the way I've looked at that one in particular, and just you get it. You see the savagery, you see the strength of the will of the rider. You can't put shit like that into words. It's there and done. You know?
All right. Who doesn't like a lizard riding a giant dinosaur, right? I mean, we all love dinosaurs.
I know.
All right, Tommy, what about you, man?
You know, it's funny. I don't even own this model that I'm about to say, but let me just say this. It makes me want to buy this army. And, like, that's a bold statement for me. Like, I want to drop hundreds of dollars because of this model.
All right.
And that's Glotkin. That, if you've ever picked up a Glotkin, a well-painted Glotkin, like, it is a marvelous, horrendous thing to behold. Like, the detail on that model is a completely different level. And it is, like, again, it makes me, seeing Glotkin make, and to a lesser degree, all of his little Lieutenant Bloab people, like, that set of models makes me want to get an Urgle army. Because it's just so, like, looking at them, the detail on the sculpt, it's just compelling, and the just character is dripping or oozing off of those models. So, Nurgle, it's disgusting, don't get me wrong, but I just, man, as far as characters go, it's got to be up there.
All right. Mine is going to be a much smaller choice, as there is one beautiful lady who has always drawn my allure and fancy, and she ever remains an elusive ghost that I've tried to model and paint many times, never doing her the justice she so rightly deserves. And that is High Queen Calidia. The perfect emblematic mix of horror and beauty, with half beautiful death mask and half sort of skull face, in her robes with her serpent staff and the snakes wrapping around her. She's a simple 28mm model. She's not big. She's not dynamically posed, but she has a great, like, flowing cape and such. I love her. I love the model. I think it's beautiful. I remember when I got the Tomb King's book, like when it first came out back in like 2004. I opened the Tomb King's book and I was just flipping through, you know, looking at art and such, and I came to the page with Tomb King, whatever, Calidia, High Queen Calidia, and I saw that image of her. And I was like, be still my beating heart. This is it. I found the one. That's it. So she has remained ever in my heart.
It's too bad, given all of your painting skill, that you really can't paint her.
It's true. I'm cursed. It doesn't matter. Like, I can do whatever, anytime brush touches her, and just like everything falls apart. I don't know what it is.
It's a curse of sand.
I may chime in for just a second.
Sure.
I am trying to help Vince with that. I have taken steps.
Yes. Marrok, I'm in an assistance program. Marrok is my sponsor. We're going to get through this.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Again, your choices for lords. There's a lot of great ones. Man, there's so many good ones. And, you know, on mounts, standing alone, riding in chariots and such, there's so many good lords and heroes, and obviously as those centerpiece models, there's so many amazing ones. If I could throw in a quick honorable mention for a Forge World model, which isn't really Warhammer, so it's kind of cheating, but that would be the Forge World Keeper of Secrets. Obviously the best Greater Demon they ever made. She is a masterpiece, and I love mine to absolute death. So,
the big boss, the Forge World big boss on Giant Squig is also pretty enrapturing.
yeah, worth an honorable mention. Absolutely.
So does that mean I win because I only have one?
All right. So let's move on to our best of the best for cavalry. All right. The cav, the pony riders, or not ponies, frankly. You know, I mean, they could be on anything. Could be dudes riding lizards or anything else that people ride in this crazy fantasy world. Merrick.
Oh, okay. Now, my first instinct is to go to my first love, which is my lizard men. But the Saurus cavalry for the lizard men are horrendous.
Right.
So I am going to flip the lid on that and go to the other Cold One Knights, which are the Dark Elf Cold One Knights. Those miniatures are amazing. There's not much else that can be said for them. I think that the Cold One itself is probably one of the most detailed lizard models I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it when it's painted kind of okay, and it still looks really good. When you get someone who knows what the hell they're doing painting it, it's phenomenal, the stuff that they can do with it. So, yes, Dark Elf Cold Ones.
I like it. Now, have you seen the Skink Cold One Riders from back in the Dogs of War days?
I have, yeah. They anger me greatly.
All right, Tom, Cav.
Now, let me just say that for me, the Cold One Riders actually got an honorable mention. Because they are, like, I like them so much that when I made my Dark Elves, I decided that anybody that was riding anything on the ground was riding a Cold One. I was just going to paint them all differently. And so I have, like, 12 Dark Riders that are on Cold Ones. I have a block, I shit you not, of 20 normal Cold One Knights. And I have another 10 Doomfire Warlocks that are on Cold Ones.
That doesn't sound like an honorable mention to me, Tom.
But no, it is. Here's why. Because in my opinion, it's not the best cav. It's not the most beautiful cav. There is one cav that grabs my attention and holds my attention. And that's the most recent Dragon Princess.
Okay.
I have ever only put 5 of those down on the table, and yet I continue to buy box after box of Dragon Princes. Like I see them on eBay for $15, and I'm like, oh, I gotta have them. Like $15. Like like that's fine. Age of Sigmar. You know what that said to me? You can run as many Dragon Princes as you want.
True.
And
that was all Dragon Prince army finally.
And I was like, okay, deal. Man, like if you pick up a Dragon Prince model, they don't just look at the picture, but pick it up. The amount of detail and like the sharp edges and just the character on that model is just stunning. I can't think of it, like, it's just so beautiful. Like, it's good.
All right. I like it. So I can't believe neither of you said this. So I will give my. I do have to go for an honorable mention here and cheat, but the honorable mention goes to the Sisters of the Thorn, who are actually I prefer more than the Wild Riders. The Sisters, one of the newer cavalry kits, absolutely stunning. Those big jumping deer with their massive antlers. It's such a cool kit, and it is absolutely beautiful. It is both a chore, but a fun chore. To paint, because they are not simple models, certainly. But I must give my credit to where my heart is. And the best cav model, okay, I'm going to give it to the humble 6th edition Bretonnian Knight. And why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because it's a palette, all right? It's got enough detail to be good and different and varied. But it's not so filled out with jangles and nonsense and everything else like your Dragon Princes that you can't take the model and make it your own. After painting as many Bretonnian Knights as I did, I came to appreciate how much flat space and empty space they have on that parting, because it means that every knight is a blank palette. for you to explore, for you to paint and do these intricate and complex patterns on. And it lets you elevate up the knights to the next level when you want to do all this freehand and such. And so for that alone, I'm going to give it to the humble Bretonnian knight. There you go.
The simply beautiful Bretonnian
Yes,
knight.
Exactly. Simple yet beautiful. Absolutely. All right. As always, what's your choice? Down below. All right. Now for a fun one. Monstrous infantry or monstrous cavalry? You may pick either. We're just lumping all these boys together. Eric, start us off. The big
Okay.
boys.
Now this is a really, really hard and sore subject for me. My favorite monstrous infantry in the game is the old 5th edition Croxagors. Why, you may ask? Well, because they're big, they're bulky, like they're supposed to be. They are simple, and in my eyes, just like the Bretonnian Knight, they are a palette. And with the pewter being, well, smooth enough, you are able to get some amazing stuff. Like I've seen Croxagors that look like poison dart frogs. I've seen like leopard print. I've seen it all.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's just something about what they did with the head and the skull shape for that miniature that just draws you into the entire thing. Now, granted, it's an old miniature, but you cannot deny that the direction that they were going with the design of that miniature was right.
Yeah, I have like maybe 3 or 4 of those old metal, the 5th edition Kroigers, Croxagors, whatever. And yeah, they're
I've got
great.
like 8, and I can't. You know how we were talking in the paint-a-sode about me like constantly repainting my stuff?
You just keep repainting those over and over again.
I just can't bring myself to do it this time. I just can't. So they're being replaced, sadly.
Well, there you go. All right, Tommy. Monstrous infantry, monstrous cavalry. What do you got?
This is real tough because I don't have any armies, despite the fact that I basically have 5 armies. I don't really have anything with monstrous infantry and monstrous cav. And so, like, I just don't have a lot of hands-on experience.
You got trolls.
Yeah,
They're cute. They vomit.
I will say this. The river trolls look pretty fantastic, the new plastic ones. But my vote is going to have to actually go to a Forge World model. And that's the Chaos Dwarf Bull Centaur. Particularly the hero of the Bull Centaurs, but just the Bull Centaurs in general. They have so much; those models have so much character. As far as like monstrous cav go, the detail, like again, I do actually have some of those, and they are sharp models. They're terrible on game when they hit the table, but they are beautiful. Yeah, that doesn't matter. I'm likely to feel them anyways because of how nice they look.
All right. My personal, how funny would it be here if I said Fiends of Slanesh, by the way, the old anteater cows? Like, I think I would throw myself out of this broadcast.
Yeah, you're cut.
You're out of here. All right. No, my serious pick is, I mean, there can be only one. And that is the Snake Surfers, baby. The Snake Surfers from the TK. Come on. They're surfing on snakes. Those things are awesome. And with a little bit of work, you can convert the snakes over to actually be holding their halberds as well and have the full thing. So you can get like the snakes with their halberds and the guys on top with their pointy sticks. And it's just a pointy stick-a-thon coming toward the enemy. It's fantastic.
That just sounds like it would be painful to move across the table because you'd be constantly pricking yourself.
Oh, yeah, you jab yourself pretty much like trying to move porcupines. But yes. The Snake Surfers, baby, the Necropolis Knights. There is no other, except no substitution. All right. Very good. Let's move on. War Machine. Favorite model, War Machine. And by the way, on this one, because this is probably going to come up, when we say these categories, we're not like holding too tight to these categories. So like, if something is actually unique or something, but clearly a war machine, you can still pick it. Like whatever. I don't care. Like this isn't about being exactly accurate. It looks like a war machine, feels like a war machine, acts like a war machine, but it happens to be unique or some other type. Whatever. It's a war machine. You can pick it in the category. All right. That ground rule out of the way. Merrick, go ahead.
Anvil of Doom, hands down. The amount of detail in that fig with all the runes they basically give you all the stuff you need for a scenic big base in the kit. You get a little hut, you get like, I can't remember the guy's name, and then his little helper, and then you get like a stand for this amazing looking anvil. It's just a great looking miniature. It's super fun to paint because you get to play around with glazes and object source lighting and all that stuff. Yeah, Anvil of Doom.
All right. I like it. Tom.
Yeah, no. It's funny. I actually had a really hard time choosing my favorite war machine.
Okay.
Because the honest truth is that when I look across the range of Chaos Dwarf war machines, they are just so damn beautiful. Like, and I mean that absolutely. Like the Skullcracker. I don't know if you've ever seen the Skullcracker. Most likely you haven't, because even if you face down a Chaos Dwarf army, no one is ever going to field a Skullcracker. They are flipping awesome. You need to go to the Forge World website right now and look at Skullcrackers, because they're amazing. That's why. They are a spiky wheeled, whirling bladed picture of doom. And I mean, right alongside that is like the Dreadquake mortar model with like, you can just hear the pistons running as the Dreadquake mortar like spins around and takes aim, and this huge ass ogre is loading it. Like, it's just fantastic. So like, I love the Chaos Dwarf war machines, and it just doesn't get better than that.
All right. So I'm going to bend the rules slightly on my choice, but I don't care. Whatever. Take that. But you said all of the words that are important in your little flavorful description of what is, in fact, the best war machine. And although not technically a war machine, come on, it is. And that is the Doom Wheel. The Skaven Doom Wheel, the greatest creation of Master Engineer Icket Claw, Ravager of the Old World.
That's a chariot, dude.
It is. Oh, it's not really that either, but it's close enough. It is a war machine. It shoots lightning bolts that do D6 wounds. It roams around the board. It's a war machine. It's a big construct thing. It's a war machine.
War machines don't roam their board.
I just set the terms before we did this, and that's why I did it, because I knew I was going to break the rules. So I changed the rules first.
It's a tank with.
No.
It's a Skaven tank.
Exactly. Like, if people could pick the steam tank, which would have been legitimate, I can pick my Doom Wheel. That's how it works. Suck it. That's what I say.
I can just see Tom seething.
You're picking some weird thing that walks around the board. Shut your mouth. We're all picking weird chariot war machine things. So
I didn't.
So, he who is without sin here, Mr. Chaos Dwarf Stonecaster. All right. Very good. I think the point is, like, who's picking, like, the Reaper bolt thrower or a cannon, right? I think those aren't getting selected. No one's picking that. All right. This should be, so here's, well, let's do the smaller category first. We'll start with if you're skinny, then use your little muscles. So we'll start with the little ones, the war beasts. Then we'll move to their big brothers. So, war beasts. This is a tight category. There's not a lot out there. Merrick.
This is tough. Because, alright, I'm going to go out of the box here.
All right.
I'm going to say the Fenrisian wolves from 40K used
Okay.
as dire wolves in Warhammer Fantasy.
Cheating, but I like it. I didn't say you couldn't cheat. So, all right, those Fenrisian wolves are pretty
Amazing.
awesome. Yeah.
I use them for my mounts for my Wild Riders. They're absolutely fantastic models. They're super easy to make look good, like ridiculously easy. And yeah, so there's my cheating answer.
That's fair enough. I like it. Cheat away. Tom, what about you?
I'm gonna cheat as well, and go with the great eagles from the Lord of the Rings. Because I mean that counts, right?
I guess. Sure.
I mean, you look at every high elf player, and I can tell you they probably have these eagles on the table.
It's a fair point. All right. I accept.
And they're made by GW.
Sure. I will push the envelope a lot less. And I will say I have a special place in my heart for the Flesh Hounds of Khorne.
Damn it.
And especially the new one that's on the new Korgus Cull, right? So there is a plastic Flesh Hound that exists. Now if we could get it. What's that?
You're not choosing the Griff Dogs?
No, I'm not choosing the Griff Dog because I don't really know what he is. I guess he's technically probably a war beast, but like I love the Griff Dog, but the Flesh Hound I knew was certainly a war, or, you know, that is that sort of thing or whatever. So I'll choose the Flesh Hound. He's close enough to a war beast, I guess. And if we could get a box of the plastic ones out of the Chaos releases, I would be a very happy camper indeed. Even though I've already done like conversions of other ranges models into Flesh Hounds, that's okay. I would love to see those plastic Flesh Hounds. All right, more corn dogs. That's what we want to see. So let's go to their big brother. All right, here we go. The big one, the monster, or the monsters, right? Let's just forget about it. Monsters, the big boys. What's the best?
Slaughter Brute.
Oh, Mr. High Five.
Yeah, I absolutely love that model. It's just fantastic. I mean,
Now, would you like to take that back and pick the Mutalith Vortex Beast instead? Same kit.
I will
Cthulhu monster.
I will give an honorable mention to the Mutalith Vortex Beast just for Lord Tremendous.
Exactly.
But I'm not a huge fan of large tentacled things.
All right, fair enough.
So, I just really loved the overall enormous bulk that was the Slaughter Brute. Like, it was this amazing fig, and then the rules came out, and you were like, I'm never gonna buy that.
That's fair. Yes, Ant's famous story of the Slaughter Brute up on eBay on day one that was half assembled, where they took it home and were assembling it, and they started reading the rules and just went, oh, and put it on eBay. Sad. All right, Tom, monster.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Sorry, Vince. I know what your pick is going to be. You and your army of sphinxes. But I will take a different Howdah unit any day of the week, and that's the Arachnarok. There's not many other models that will chase people off of the table.
Sure.
And Arachnaroks, yeah, the spiders. And Arachnaroks are one of those. People will look at your spider army and be like, nah, I'm not going to play you.
That's a win! That counts as a win!
Counts as a win.
And
trip arachnophobia to make people not even play you, sure.
Yeah, like, it's a beautiful model. Like, out of that kit, I have constructed a 40-some strong spider swarm herd. I've constructed 6 Chukkas. I've constructed 2 Labos, 2 Doom Divers, all from bits from those kits. Like, it is probably one of the most diverse kits I have ever seen. Like, I have a unit of 20 Forest Goblin Archers from those kits. Um, I cannot speak highly enough of not only the kit itself, which is stunning. I mean, honestly, like, fully put together, it looks great. But the versatility of pieces. I have literally built an entire army on the back of a Ragnarok bit. And it's amazing. I love that kit. I have another one in the mail right now. It should be here tomorrow.
It's hilarious.
That would be my third.
Sure.
Third
So you gotta
full
have
Ragnarok. I have hundreds of Ragnarok.
Require 3.
Yeah, it does.
There you go.
Which, of course, I have to have a third one then. I don't have a choice.
It's just that easy. Yes, I'll give the quick honorable mention to another thing out of Undead, which is the Terrorgeist, which is an absolutely stunning monster. Like the wings on that thing are absolutely amazing, and it's a great model. It's well done.
I put one together this last week for a friend, and I can vouch. Like, man, the Terrorgeist. Like, putting together that model, I was like, I don't know, I could buy one of these. Like,
yeah, sure.
I can slip it in my Undead, my Tomb King's army, do a little bit of conversion.
But of course, the winner chicken dinner. It's the War Sphinx, man. The Sphinx. Look, the kitty cat stomps all. He thunder crushes just everything else out of his way. He breathes fire. He's got poison. He's got dudes that killing blow. He's sweet. And also, none of that matters. We're not talking about rules. He's a sweet super stone cat. And again, he has both an immensely high level of detail on his gold armored parts, as well as big, wide, smooth sections that are like stone. And I've seen people that do. I did a galaxy effect on one of mine. I've seen people do the marbling effect on it. You know, you can do like freehand patterns and hieroglyphs all over them. He has this amazing mix of. He's very easy to convert, so he's a wonderful base to work off of. But even just straight put together out of there. He's a great mix of like ultra high detail, so you can just spend all the time in the world you want futzing with stuff, and amazingly smooth, perfect surfaces that you want to work with and paint with to do nice blends or effects or freehand or whatever. So the Sphinx, easily my choice, and yes, I've got a clutch for sure, and you know whatever. There's nothing wrong with a 6-pack of Sphinxes. All right, final category. We'll all ride away together here as we finish up on our chariots. So, the chariot category. Eric.
Now, when I wrote this down, I was like, I'm probably going to steal Vince's thunder with this.
Steal away, man. That's the blessing of going first. You get to steal.
Okay, I put down Cetra.
Mm.
That chariot is the chariot of all chariots. To hell with all that other stuff. You can just knock that shit aside. That stuff don't matter. You can just put it in a box and put it in a corner and just leave it there. Cetra is the epitome of what I think a war chariot should actually look like. Like a badass, like Chaos should have chariots with 4 horses, goddammit, but they don't. You know why? Because Cetra's too badass for them to have it then. It just he's like, no, I'm doing this, you're not allowed. That's it, it's over. My will be done.
Absolutely. Cetra does not kneel, as we all know. All right. Well, obviously, I fully and 100% support that choice. Tom, what about you, bud? Chariot.
I honestly have to just go with the Mortis engine. That model is just damn beautiful. Like, it's just redonk. I am literally staring at one unpainted on my bookshelf right now, and it's calling out to me. It is a beautiful, beautiful model, and I cannot wait to get a brush on that thing.
Also, all the conversions you can do with that kit are absolutely
oh my God, yeah.
insane.
That kit's an explosion of conversion capabilities, yeah.
Like, I built my wife a vampire countess on a horse and on top of that, a completely custom casket of souls with like the wraiths swirling around the top and stuff. Oh, like there's just
never mind the fact you get like 3 banshees in that kit, right? But if you don't use them, that's like 3 free clam pack characters you're getting in that kit. So if there was ever a good value for your dollar, that Coven Throne / Mortis Engine kit is it.
So that would make the grand total of, you got what, 3 banshees, you've got a necromancer, and then you've got 3 baby vamps. So there's 7 characters in that kit.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yep.
I'm going to use the, I agree, I'm using the female vampires as my blood crushers in my female Khorne army. So I finally picked up my juggernauts at Gen Con. So, and all those are good, but I've got to pick the Rock and Roll Chariot. And the Rock and Roll Chariot is obviously the Skull Cannon. So, or if you prefer, I can pick the Blood Throne if that feels too War Machine-y for you. It's the same kit. They are both chariots, legitimate by type. But the giant phallic engine of Khorne driving around, munching on things to heal itself, I can't. I mean, the metaphors here are too many. The modeling is too great. This thing is fantastic. I love that big, ridiculous, stupid phallic cannon. Again, it has like an amazing amount of detail. The skull flesh underneath, the various guys pulling it, the actual armor plates and rivets and stuff in there, the sort of mix of metal and flesh that it looks like it was just bolted onto a living organism. All the weird, like, organic tubes coming out of the big, giant engine in the back. I mean, the thing's clearly got like a V8 in the back or something. You know, it's really rocking around there, and it's just ready to just muscle car its way across the battlefield, shoot some cannonballs or whatever, and just eat some people.
Sorry, Vince. You know, that 100 millimeters, that 4 inches ain't doing it for me. Like,
just put it away.
In the game
just put it away.
Much bigger, you see. It's not. This doesn't usually happen. All right. That brings us to the end of our best of the best. So now we have spent a lot of time arguing about our favorite plastic soldiers, and we want you to do the same. But that brings us down to the end of our show. Gentlemen, any final thoughts?
I hope you all enjoyed the company that you received tonight as much as I did, and I hope that to our viewers that this helped you all get some more painting done, because there's just too many gray miniatures out there, people.
That's a great piece of advice. Tom, any final thoughts?
Get excited for Mordheim, because it's coming.
Nice. I want to make one quick shout out to commenter. Chris Liang said Blood Knights with properly lacquered armor or questing knights back on Best Cavalry. And man, Chris, you boy, are you right. Those questing knights. I might have to take back my answer and go with questing knights, just because.
There's no takesy backsies.
You're right. I was wrong. I accept I was wrong. Questing knights are a better choice. So, Chris, you defeat me. I give it up. Those questing knights are the best. One of them is blind and has a 5-year-old kid riding on his back with a telescope to tell him where to go. The Bretonnians brought 5-year-olds into battle and thought this was a great idea. You can't get better than that. These are the good guys.
That wasn't an actual 5-year-old. That was just a midget they hired. On his shoulder.
Could be.
These guys are responsible for the Children's Crusade, right?
Right, exactly. Apparently. All right. So, yes, Chris, excellent call there, sir. All right. But with that, we will bring this show to a close. Thank you all for watching. We certainly appreciate it. Look forward to your comments. As I said, I'll post the link to Marrok's channel down below, so go check that out. And as always, see you next Wednesday.